Greetings folks, this is the ThiEYE i30 Plus sent to me by Toptop for the review. I'm a big fan of ThiEYE cameras. This is the ThiEYE T5e, top of their range, really good quality camera, one of the best that I own. ThiEYE i3 Plus is the bottom of the range, budget camera, built down to a price. Let's have a closer look at it. Some of the specs. It's marketed as a 4K camera. It's not a 4K camera. It's not even a 2K camera. It's a 1080p camera. 1080-30 is the specifications of the sensor. So they're doing some firmware trickery to get it up to 4K. 4K at 10 frames a second is not all that useful, although you can use it, as I'll show you a bit later on. 12 megapixel photos, 60 metre underwater housing. Seriously, if you're diving to 60 metres, you wouldn't be using a cheap camera like this one. 1050 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery. Photo burst off or 3 frames. Self-timer. Time-lapse, good range of time-lapse photo options. It doesn't have time-lapse video, although you can speed up the playback in post-processing, which I'll show you a bit later on too. And you can do loop recording as well. It comes with a few options, not as many as some of the others. 2-inch screen, and you can get the iOS and Android app for it as well. Alright, let's open it up and have a look, see what accessories we get first. So, fully waterproof housing. We also get a non-waterproof housing back, which has little holes in it to let more sound in. It'll still keep all the dirt and dust out, but a little bit better sound. A few clip mounts, cleaning cloth, sticky mounts, an angled mount, USB charging and transfer cable, and a little manual there as well. Opening up the housing, and here's the camera close up. Alright, so let's have a closer look. On the front we have the power button, an LED and the lens. Right hand side up and down navigation buttons. On the back we have the 2-inch screen. On the left hand side we have micro USB HD out, they're calling it, but it's HDMI out, and the SD card slot. Underneath there's the battery door. So you push and hold the front button to turn it on. Takes a few seconds to open up. Comes with a little splash screen. Opens up into the video mode. You push the front button to flick through the modes. That's photo mode, burst photo, photo time lapse, and the settings. So you push the top button to get into the settings. Now we've got video resolution. Push the top button again to drill into the settings, and then up and down, go through the video selection. So we've got up the top, we've got 1080p, that's the only really usable setting in my book. 720 60 frames, 4K 10 frames, 2.7K 20 frames, but they're just very highly interpolated from the sensor, which is, the sensor is a PS5220 sensor, and if you look at the specs, I'll put it on the screen now, it really is only a 1080 30 frames a second sensor, and it uses the SPCA6330 chip, which I've never heard of, don't know anything about it. Toptop are also offering a $5 discount code, which I'll include in the description. Looping video on or off, timestamp on or off, exposure adjustments, you've got a pretty decent range of exposure adjustments there. Photo resolution, you can go over the full 4:3 12 megapixel or down to the 8 megapixel 16:9 aspect ratio. Burst photo, on or off basically, it just does 3 photos in the burst. Time-lapse, photo time-lapse, you can set the interval. Continuous lapse on or off, I don't really know what that is. That's not video time-lapse. That might just keep your photo time-lapse continuous. Who knows? Power, frequency, language, lots of language choices. Setting up the date and time. The sounds, you can turn it upside down, you can mount it upside down if you want to. Screensaver on or off, power saver on or off, reformat the card, reset everything in the firmware version. Firmware version on this one is version 5.0. It looks like the 27th of January that one was done, so there may well be a subsequent firmware update we can do. There's no image stabilization, it's nice and simple. There's no tripod mount on the bottom, which is a pity. I really like them. But it is a cheap, budget-priced camera. Entry level, it's the sort of camera you'd buy for your first just dipping your toe into action cameras, or if you wanted a camera that isn't going to make you cry when you lose it, this might be a good option. Alright, let's go and check out the image quality. And I'm not expecting too much really for a bottom of the range camera in the ThiEYE line. Alright, time for the selfie test. This is just held out at arm's length. It's very noisy. We've got lots of construction going on around, so you'll probably hear a lot of background noise and quite an echoey environment. I've just got some fluorescent lighting me, a bit of daylight coming from above, so it'll be interesting to see how it looks. Oh, I should mention the weight too. The weight of the ThiEYE i30 Plus is 58 grams. The ThiEYE T5e is about 78 grams. It's quite a lightweight action cam. Maybe good for mounting on quads or planes or things like that. This is 1080p 30, which is the only real usable frame rate and resolution, I think. This is the 4K 10 frames a second setting, which not a lot of use really. Nobody's going to use that frame rate unless of course you speed it up. So now I'm sitting inside the car out of the wind. There's a lot of wind unfortunately today. It's only really useful as a 1080p 30 frames a second camera, which is the most useful resolution and frame rate around. I think it's what I use all the time. So what are my final thoughts on the ThiEYE i30 Plus? Well, it's definitely a budget camera. The image quality is, it's not fantastic, but you wouldn't expect top of the range image quality for the price. It's not super sharp. The colours are fine. There's nothing unusual about that. You have to think of it of a 1080p camera, 1080p 30. It's definitely not a 4K camera unless you want to do some post-processing like I did with the time-lapse videos. The camera doesn't have time-lapse video built in. I had to speed up the playback in Final Cut Pro. That's probably the only use for the 4K 10 frames a second setting, I would think. The 12 megapixel still photos are very much the same as the video. Not super sharp, but not terrible. So that's the ThiEYE i30 Plus budget priced 1080p action cam from Toptop. Thanks for watching.